dropping an emotional bomb to dropping a oh my god, suspense is coming bomb. Who knows what will happen next? Isn't this thrilling? But it seems in the end, Dr. Stone is also divided into chapters, as Chapter 1, Chapter Z45, is the epilogue of Chapter 1, and Chapter 2 starts next week. That makes me question, is it a possibility that Dr. Stone is also not going to be a long manga? Very likely, especially with the fact that we're already in the second part, or the first part is already over. But we'll get to that in the ending. What happens in this one? Well, with connected over 1,000 years or 3,000 years, the ancestors of old has reached Senkuu, who has revealed to that yes, all these different people are descendants of those five people. Makes me though question though that there were only five. They seem to have a lot of children, and those children must have gotten children with those children. So I'm just saying, is there a possibility that a lot of these, I mean, is it possible they did inbreeding as well? Well, who knows? But Kuako actually says the one thing we have also wondered a lot. She actually asks if it means that all of us are Senku's relatives. I guess she's blushing because the fact that she may have fallen for Senku, only for them to be blood relatives. But here Senku says something that I also said a long time ago. I mean, he does confirm that Byakuya and him are not blood related. The only reason they threw that in is for us not to get into this, inbreed like powers. But Senku does say something that I also says, and that is that their bloodlines are so 100 years apart. Calling them relatives wouldn't mean a thing because they're so far apart, even if they were, you know. So either way, the people are celebrating it all. But before that, Ruri takes Senku to a place as she finishes the 100-year story, and we see what happens to the survivors of the astronaut and how they died. Turns out they all died of the same disease as Ruri, pneumonia. And pneumonia was a powerful disease, but with antibiotics it could have been defeated. Unfortunately, they landed on the nature part. They were not scientists and could not create antibiotics, so they the pneumonia took their lands. Some of them tries to get to the other mainland, but apparently died in the oceans. So Byakuga felt was very sad that all of them died from something as simple as pneumonia. However, one of his survivors says that, well, not the survivors, but one of those who was dying says that he shouldn't mourn everything else because he had fun. The mankind may have stopped, but he eventually formed a family. It was fun ever since our days spent together. And he finally also says that the time you ate ramen, it was very delicious and enough to make me smile. So with that, the final two were, of course, the diva and Byakuga, who obviously also got children. It was during this time that Byakuga decided to pass down the 100 stories. He began to write in English and even, I think, Japanese, because they needed to have wisdom for future generations. And it was also he who figured out that they need to have different stories about wild animals that are dangerous, as well as some information about food and even minerals, because he knew that one day there will be someone who will come and collect them, aka Chrome. And so the biggest purpose of their 100-year stories was to direct Senku towards Japan. I don't know exactly where they were on this map, but that's what their stories were about. And finally, the 100th story ended with Byakuga giving a taped message that the priestess Ruri passed down, and that was him saying, if you listen to this story, that means that the petrification has finally broken. And I'm doing great. We may be all dying for pneumonia, but I have left you some wonderful souvenirs. And I know that if you combined with your science and your allies, you will be able to make an enjoyable world. I know you won't lose, and I know you will save humanity. You will rebuild civilization from scratch, even if you have to do it from zero. If it's you, Senku, then without a doubt. Just that thought, I mean, that's very, it's very emotional. Finally, Ruri takes Senku to the graveyard, which the smallest one are from the founders. As Senku makes a odd joke about saying that he kicked the bucket 3,700 years ago, he says to Ruri that he's going to stay a little bit. And Ruri leaves him, knowing that Senku is not the guy, is not he just wants to be alone with his father for one final time. And so Senku says that so that what it was. I may have counted all the civilians to keep me busy, but you definitely left behind gifts. And then we see it. Even though Senku tries to be a man who doesn't show that much emotions, he is just as much of a human flesh as the rest of us. As Senku lowers his head and cries to his adopted father. Because in the end, his adopted father left one hell of a gift for him. And he sheds tears knowing that he is dead. But he will now use these gifts to save everything else. However, it seems rebuilding civilization from zero is gonna take some time. Well, it will take time. However, just from doing it from time is also gonna take time, because Senku gets back to the village, and it seems like uh, the old mentalist Ashigiru Gen is also in this party. So he demands to know from Ashigiru Gen what has happened in the Empire of Tsukasa. And Chrome, no, sorry. Ashigiru Gen confirms it. Tsukasa and the others, his empire, are on their way. I do not know why they suddenly decides to attack, but then again, it's been about half a year. And given to the fact what they had discovered, there is no way Tsukasa wouldn't be suspected after that. With this, the end of chapter 1 has happened. Next chapters are called, and the next part of this story is called chapter 2, Stone Wars. The curtain rise on the chapter 2, as we are now gonna be promised big action. I'm already looking forward to it. However, it seems that I'm actually a little bit worried though. How the hell is Senku gonna win against Tsukasa Empire? If Tsukasa Empire is full with the brutes and people with the pure psychical strength, what is Senku's empire filled with? Well, agile people. Kohaku is in a league of her own, and there are some monsters there and there. The question is though that now technically Senku hasn't really used, created technology yet to fight Tsukasa, but Tsukasa is on this way. Doesn't that mean we will meet Taiju and Yuzihara again? I mean, they are allies to Senku, unless of course staying with Tsukasa for a little while has actually made them change their minds. But Ashigiru Gen, well, he'll probably still be on the sides of the Kingdom of Science. So now it begins, a war against the brutish and violent Tsukasa Empire with the smart and nature-loving curiosity of the Kingdom of Science. Who will win? Well, we just have to see. And will Taiju and Yuzihara get back to Senku's side? Again, we'll see. Give me your thoughts if you have any.